Start recording and let me go ahead, but where we have left. So far we have talked about several length scales and time scales in turbulent flows. Kinetic energy budget, that is the cascading of energy from mean flow towards the viscous dissipation. Vortex stretching we will talk about a bit later. Now we will talk about the uh, averaged quantity.
सर
हाँ,
सर क्या आप सर बता सकते हैं कि ये ब्लासियस इक्वेशन कुंडू में कहाँ है सर?
ब्लासियस इक्वेशन, ओके, कुंडू में मिल जाएगा आपको. तो इसमें एक चैप्टर है बाउंड्री लेयर एंड रिलेटेड टॉपिक्स. ओके, आपको उसमें जाना पड़ेगा.
ओके सर.
ठीक है, उसमें मिल जाएगा आपको. और चैप्टर नंबर अगर पूछें तो चैप्टर नंबर 9 या 10 होगा. 10. So, since turbulent flows are chaotic or random, so essentially it contains fluctuating components. That is why it is advantageous to work into go into the statistical to adopt a statistical approach in order to understand the fluctuating behavior or the dynamics of the turbulent flows. So we usually work with time average quantities, space averaged quantities, and one more quantity that is called ensembled average quantity. Also called sometimes expected value. And this is actually ensemble average. We'll talk it. But first, let's talk about time average and space average. So in general, any average quantity we can seek mathematically any average quantity. Let's suppose I want to seek let's suppose your A is a quantity that is changing with time. Okay, it was some function of time, or suppose U again. This is your velocity. At certain point you take a probe in a flow and you start reading it, and you are getting some values at different times. So this is your time scale, and you are getting some maybe fluctuating behavior because this is turbulent flow. This is not nice and easy. So one way to take the average of this quantity is take t tending to infinity. I mean take the samples of t very large, and do this. You integrate your quantity at or ut. Let's suppose I take ut again. You integrate this quantity in time fashion from 0 to infinite time till very high very large number of time, and again you divide it by dt 0 to infinity. this comes out to be, and also if you don't want to talk about t, or either in terms of limit, if you talk about in terms of limit t naught, if you go to t0 to t naught, you have to take limit as t naught tends to infinity, because I expect things to take the average in for very large domain of time, and this the lower quantity is nothing but the total time, right, which is, let's suppose, capital T or T naught, here in this case T naught. So I can straight away write 1 upon T naught integration of 0 to infinity is, I mean, your time scale is very high, that is T naught ut dt, and this is how you write the average quantity, u average quantity over time. So the bar over it, we call it average quantity. Average quantity, but this average quantity was taken in term or in association with the time. So essentially it is called time averaged quantity. Similarly, I can also do space average as well. Why it is important? Your turbulent quantities not only may be fluctuating in timely manner, but in space also. Like if you if you go from 0, 0, 0 to some other place, let's suppose 1, 2, 5. Okay, there is a space fluctuation also. So for laminar steady flows, you may expect that whatever you will get here also, but here when you move in space as well, you will expect things to be different, x1, x2. Okay, so there is something called space average also. So space average can also be taken as u as a function of x, or maybe x will be a vector quantity. X could be any xyz and xyz, any spatial quantity. The average in space we can write in terms of ux. So this time I keep my time constant in this case. So in this case I kept my time constant for particular time or a particular time, and I do the analysis for every spatial locations, what are my ux at every location, and that will give me the spatial average from 0 to x. Can be any, all sorts of domain length of, if I talk about in one dimensional sense, it's suppose from 0 to very large length, let's suppose it's going to x, and this length is L, capital L, and capital L is tending to infinity, very large. So 0 to L I can do that limit if I'm talking about in terms of one dimension. And 0 to L dx, safely written as 1 upon L ux dx. And now this is called space average. And here I kept my, for a particular location, I am talking about the time average. Okay, so these two things are separate, but it gives a rich physics of the problem in the sense that when I am talking about the space average, and if my space average is constant wherever I go, space average is a fixed quantity. I get 5 units. I'll tell that I have homogeneous turbulent field. Okay, I have turbulent flows, but it is homogeneous in nature. In compared and as contrast to homogeneity, when I see my average quantity with time, so time average quantity is constant. Let's suppose this is my 5. I get this particular line. I'm telling that, okay, wow, I'm getting, when I do this averaging, I get a single scalar quantity, that is 5, and then it is called, if it is a single value and if it is constant, it is called stationary turbulence. Okay. And homogeneous is in space, stationary we talk it in terms of time. Why it is important? Stationary turbulence, we in nature we don't often see stationary turbulence, because you also see there will be your mean value or your time averaged values, time averaged value also fluctuates with time. So that is the catch. You may not expect, the things are not constant here. At different time steps, you will get different time average. It may go something else. So those sort of turbulent feature is called non-stationary turbulence. This is called stationary turbulence. Another type of average that we often try to relate things in is ensembled average, and let's see why it is important and how it is calculated. So what I do in, I do an experiment, not experiment, I do a set of experiments. Okay, for day 1, day 2, day 3, for n days, where n tends to infinity, very large number of experiments I did. At day 1, what I do is I came and do the experiment. So let's suppose this is my day 1 experiment, and I put a probe. Okay, and at that probe I timely manner I started noting down my use. So I start from 8 a.m. till 9 a.m. till 10 a.m. Okay, so with time, so this is your time axis and this is your ut axis, but again this is ut subscript ith day. You did this experiment and on ith day, day 1. So at day 1 you find your turbulent features are something like this. You come next day at the day 2, you are not changing the initial and boundary conditions. So your boundary conditions and initial condition setups, all other setups are exactly same, but you come at some other time, some other day, and you do the same experiment and you calculate ut, but at second day, u2t. Okay, some ith day, and you get some fluctuating behavior. Similarly, at day 3 you get u3t, or sometimes it is also called u1t. In some books it is written u2t or u3t, and similarly you keep on noting down things. Now what you do, you take a particular time, let's suppose this, and I at this particular time I get my u1t value. At this again particular time I get u22 value, at this particular time I take this u3t value, so I get my u1t, u2t at that same instant. My t is constant, not constant, but at particular t I am talking about. So at this particular t, u3t, you take all sorts of u and t, okay, and you do average in terms of number of sample points, you can say. Yes, number of sample points. And then do the average. And then if you have number of sample points, how do you do that? So what I do, I will do simply u1t plus u2t plus u3t plus dot dot u and t of, if I'm going capital N, okay, then capital N, and divided by how many numbers? 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus dot dot dot. Okay, not this, not. So total number of sample points are capital N. Simple. This is what you do, and you write this in this expression 1 upon n summation over uit, where I goes from 1 to n, and now this quantity is called ensembled quantity. Ensembled u at that particular t. So if let's suppose Shivam comes and he wants to calculate ensembled at t is equal to 9:15 am. So his ensembled quantity will be something different, and Prabhat's quantity will be different, okay, because he is doing taking tea at different times. Okay, so keeping in mind in these quantities, ensembled average, time average, and space average, now we are in a shape towards let's skip for the timing. We are in a shape towards writing or processing towards understanding the Reynolds average Navier-Stokes equation. So once I understand those quantities, then we can go ahead with this deriving this Reynolds average Navier-Stokes equation. Okay. So before that, let me give you one more concept. There is something called spectra feature, you can say. So energy, we usually talk turbulence features in not only in time domain, but as in frequency domain as well. So you have, let's suppose ut is this, okay, but this ut has some unique features that if I want to transform this t in terms of frequency, I want to know what are the frequency that this ut possesses. Okay, so let's suppose I have a sine wave, very nice sine wave. So I know that there is only one frequency, that is that, let's suppose omega 1, that is only one frequency in this sine wave, and this sine wave was nothing but sine of omega t. I know that this y is equal to sine omega t has only one frequency, that is omega, and if I do the spectrum analysis, do the transformation of this spectrum, I will get only omega 1 as one peak, and the rest of the frequencies are 0. Okay, so only one frequency I'll get if I transform my sine omega. So usually in MATLAB we have fast Fourier transform, FFT features are there in build packages. You can directly go and check. You'll get only omega. And not only this, let's suppose I take a number of, let's suppose y is equal to a sine omega 1t plus b cos of omega 2t. So here in this particular wave, we have two frequencies, right? We may have this So I could expect that there are two frequencies that are inherited into it, and we cannot, if I mean, you can analyze things in timely manner in or at infinite times, but you will not be able to analyze things once. You will be able to analyze things more clearly or more advanced way unless until you transform this into frequency on frequency spectrum. And then we tell that after transforming this time domain, this function, you get not only omega 1, you have two frequencies here, omega 1, you will get two peaks. Okay. Similarly, if you do white noise or random white noise, so it has certain features. So it goes very vigorously with time, but when you do the frequency transformation on frequency scale, so omega, so it actually inherits all omegas from 0 to infinity. It actually has infinite omegas. So random white noise has infinitely, so it has all the peaks at all the frequencies you will get. Okay, not unlike this sine or cosine waves, it has only one or two frequencies, and this gives me a better picture to analyze how your quantity was there in terms of what do you say, it's the frequencies are inherited there, but it was unknown unless we transform that into the frequency domain. Okay, so that is why the spectra analysis is also important if you want to analyze your random systems. Okay, so this turbulent kinetic energy can also be written in terms of, so this is your turbulent kinetic energy, can also be written in terms of ek. So k is the wave number or frequency, spatial frequency, ek dk. So you integrate your energy, okay, which is a function of your wave number or your frequency, and you take all from 0 to infinity, all the frequency, and you integrate it, and whatever thing you get, you'll get same as your turbulent kinetic energy. This is one one way to analyze the system's behavior, turbulent features, and people have seen that. So actually, if you go, if you do the plotting of log ek versus log k, log scale, you expect your energy keeps on decreasing in logarithmic way from mean flow towards the viscous dissipation effect. We'll not go into the details, but you should have insight of how things can also be analyzed not only in time domain but as also in the frequency domain as well. Okay, now let us move towards derivation of Reynolds average Navier-Stokes equation. So in order to do that, the averaging of Navier-Stokes equation, we take use of something called Reynolds decomposition. So Reynolds decomposition tells that any quantity, any instantaneous quantity, can be written in terms of mean or average quantity plus the fluctuating quantity. Because fluctuations are always there and we are more interested in this quantity, because this is why your turbulent features came into picture. Okay, So let us first derive the continuity equation. And then we will move into momentum equation later once we understand this continuity equation. When we write in terms of tensor notation, we write our continuity equation as, so what is my continuity equation? Dou u by dou x plus dou v by dou y plus dou w by dou z. So, and turbulent flows are purely three-dimensional features, three-dimensional phenomena. Okay, we cannot neglect anything. We have to take all the components. So in tensor notation, I can write the continuity equation as dou u I dou u, so x and so say x component with x component, so dou u j by dou x j is equal to 0. And since this are repeating index, there is a summation sign hidden over here, and summation sign could be written this invariably. So this is your continuity equation, and I can write in tensor notation these quantities, right? So this is essentially, this is valid for u also, v also, w also, and p also, right? So u, I can write the instantaneous u as a function of x and time can be written as mean u. Okay, so instantaneous u can be written as mean u is capital U, or maybe I will take capital U mean, average quantity, I mean the mean quantity, plus u dash. So this would be my notation. Similarly, v will be capital V bar plus v dash. W will be capital W plus small w dash. P will be capital P bar plus small p dash. So this I can write invariably in Reynolds decomposition way. We can, okay, now we can okay, so these three equations can be written in terms of tensor quantity now, okay, in one shot. So in one shot I can write u j, so since I am taking j here, u j is equal to capital U j bar plus small u j dash. So this only one equation gives sufficient information for these three equations, okay, and we will take this thing as a starting step. We have uj is equal to capital U j bar plus uj dash. Now what I do, I will put this thing, this equation into the continuity equation. So what it leads to, dou by dou xj, this uj I can write capital Uj bar plus small uj dash, and over differentiation over xj must be equal to 0. Okay, now what I do, I'll take overall average. So I'll take average on both sides. So let me write it here. So dou by dou xj capital Uj average plus Uj dash. I'll take overall average is equal to 0, average is 0. Okay, now this I can write dou u average j divided by dou x j plus dou uj bar average divided by dou xj is equal to, so this is overall, is equal to 0. So here also overall, but overall average and average gives you okay. So do u average, capital U average j by dou xj plus dou, I can absorb my average quantity to inside the derivative. I can do that. Uj dash average divided by dou xj is equal to 0. Okay. From here, I tell that I now I start telling that there are few properties of fluctuating components. Okay, and what is that? If you have any fluctuating component, and if you integrate it with t from minus t to t for long period of time, you get it to be 0, and you do the average, you do the averaging. So if you want to estimate your average of the fluctuating component quantity, it also comes out to be 0, and this is a strong identity or formula you can use. I did not talk about the multiplication of u dash, I mean two other variables. It will not be 0. The reason being, they may actually interact with each other, and this will not give you, when you do the averaging of two variables, will not give you 0. Due to the interaction of fluctuating components, microscopic momentum transfer takes place. Therefore, interaction effects between two fluctuating components over a long period of time is non-zero. But single-handedly, if you do the averaging of a fluctuating component, it turns out to be 0 statistically. So with this identity, I can actually make this thing 0. So I am left with dou u capital Xj by dou Xj is equal to 0. Okay, and we have the instantaneous thing is 0, and you have mean thing is 0. With these two equations, I can tell that now this fluctuating component dou u dash, so basically here in this equation, so since this is 0, so you plug in it here, so you will get the dou u dash j by dou x j is equal to 0, actually the continuity equation for fluctuating component. So this is first part of Reynolds average Navier-Stokes equation. As a continuity equation, we can write this identity. Means basically, if I mean one step ahead, I can write actually the fluctuating quantity dou u dash by dou x plus dou v dash by dou y plus dou w dash by w dz is equal to 0. Essentially, it is telling this. So the continuity is again valid in fluctuating variables as well. Okay, the similar exercise we can do for momentum equation as well. So let's start with ith momentum equation. Okay, let me write the ith momentum equation. Can somebody recall it? Can somebody tell me? Rho times dou u ith component of dou time plus uj. These are instantaneous quantities, right? Normal u, so normal u ij's are instantaneous. Capital U ij, I will whenever write it is mean flow, and uj dash prime quantities are fluctuating. So this is my set of rules I set, I mean set of nomenclatures I will set. So uj dou ui ith quantity by dou xj. This is what I write. The advection term is equal to minus dou p by dou x ith, right, plus dou x j, right, mu times dou u I by dou x j. The usual thing, the usual Navier-Stokes equation. Okay. Now before moving into plug in this thing, ui is equal to capital Ui bar plus ui dash into these equations. Before doing that, what I do, I will subtract and add ui dou ui by dou xj. I will add and subtract. Once I do that, I can actually club these two things and write more precise equation as this will give me algebraic advantage when I do substitute these. Okay, I'm doing nothing more. Dou ui by dou t plus this I can actually this I can write dou by dou xj times ui uj, isn't it? I can do that. Minus of, let me write this green term in green, ui dou ui by dou xj, and rest of the terms are simple. Now substitute these equations. So ui's I can write this, uj's I can write uj capital uj, okay, plus uj dash. Okay, these two quantities plus, since pressure is there, so pressure I can directly write as p bar plus p dash. All three things, when I plug it in these equations, okay, I get the final equation. If you do algebra properly, I get the pre-final equation as rho dou ui dash by dot t. So everything will be written in terms of fluctuating components. So that is my idea. I need to have a fluctuating uh, uh, governing equation, how the fluctuating components behave in space and time. That is what our aim is, and that is also called Rand's equation. Okay, so this plus I will get dou x j ui uj. So this negative term will be on the right hand side. We'll take things. Okay, let me write it. Let me write the pre-final equation. I get something like this to do it properly. This is ui, and these are. Let me go back and see once again. Let me see. 1 minute. Okay, I'm sorry. This is not dash here, and these will be the average quantity over here, and dash quantities will come here. If you tell, I will do it once more in the next class, but my words in the book also you'll see, you'll get these quantities in this manner, and rest of the terms you will get similar. Okay, so now this quantity rho times this quantity is an additional quantity. So rho times u times I dash uj dash bar bar, and this is not 0. Why this is not 0? Because we have already decided that this will not become 0. The multiplication of two independently fluctuating components, if it is multiplied and averaged, it will not be 0 because of their interactions, microscopic interactions that take place. Because of this, one term is sitting over there, and this term is called, minus of this is called Reynolds stress. And if you write in terms of matrices, then you should have these many components like u1 u1 dash dash bar, u1 u2 dash dash bar, u1 dash u2, sorry, u3 dash bar bar, u1, so u2 u1 dash dash bar. Essentially these two are same, so this is symmetric matrix. It will form u2 2 dash dash bar bar, u2 u3 dash dash bar bar, and similarly u3 dash dash bar bar. And yeah, these quantities, so 1 1 2, since this is symmetric, no need to tell this, 1 2 3 4 5 and 6 components, and usual components are there. So these 6 additional terms comes into picture. Okay, so now let me do the analysis, and this is called the closure. This equation will be called as a Rans equation. Okay, and let's try to take a peek into textbook also what exactly it is. I'm not writing it here, but yes, this is called Rans equation along with the continuity equation. And in the Rans equation we have 6 additional terms that are unknown, and this is why our closure problem, turbulent closure problem, comes into picture. Okay, since we have, how many variables we have? We have u, v, w and p. These are unknowns. Okay, this was unknown for regular Navier-Stokes equation, but now we have 6 additional unknowns. That is, what are those? u1 dash dash rho times minus rho times. So rho is, we'll take it accordingly, 1 u2 dash dash. So there are 6 more components, and total makes it magnitude 10 unknowns. And we have how many equations? We have 1 continuity plus 3 momentum, only 4 equations. So 4 equations and 10 unknowns. So you need additional 6 equations to close the, or to properly mathematically solvable equation, to find mathematically solvable, or you get the solution only when you have additional 6 equations. So that is why it gives a notion, or it gives a step towards, uh, in a process we can actually step towards defining all sorts of models. So these models, whatever these models are, mixing length model or k epsilon model, k omega model, all these models will come into picture and try to close the solution, gives additional information by some means or other means in order to close the problem. So with this, I want to stop today's class, and let's meet in next class with these defining features of these models. Okay, so any questions so far? No questions?
No.
Okay, then we can leave this class. Okay, bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Everybody is present, so no need to download that, and it's fine. हाँ, tell me, प्रभात.
Yes, sir.
कुछ बोल रहे थे?
नहीं, thank you, sir बोल रहा है.
Thank you. हाँ, ठीक है. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.